Welcome, everybody, to the NFL Pickup Show, the 8th year on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. And as always, the Grueling Truth is powered by Betting.net. Betting.net is your best bet for finding the online casino or sportsbook that's right for you. Make sure you check them out at Betting.net. I am your host for the NFL Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I want to welcome in my two co-hosts. First up, 1981 national champion, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Glad to be back, guys. It's been a long off season.
Yeah, it has.
Way too much baseball. All right.
Yep.
And next
My
up,
Dodgers won today, though. They beat the Giants.
It doesn't matter because the Mets are going to win it all.
Let's go
That
Yankees.
could be. They're pretty good.
And last but certainly, well, he probably is the least, NFL beat writer Dan Kornhauser. How you doing, Dan?
Not the least.
What's up, boys? Happy NFL season. It's here. Finally.
Hey, Goodpaster, you got to understand, he and I combined for 66% of this shit. So just watch your P's and Q's.
And I combine to win it every year.
Because I let you win it last year because I didn't want your Bungles to be – they're not even favored to win this week.
You know what? They aren't. Okay. If you want to take Pittsburgh and give the Bengals 6.5, we'll do that. All right, guys, we're going to start off with Thursday night football. The Buffalo Bills against the Los Angeles Rams. The Los Angeles Rams are getting 2.5 points. They're the defending Super Bowl champions. They're at home, which we know almost no home team that wins the Super Bowl opens up with a loss to start the season. But in Vegas, the Rams are 2.5 dogs here. What do you think, Steve?
I'm going with the Rams. I think you're underestimating, and I don't,
How did I underestimate anything? I didn't make the line.
All right, well, this whole thing about Von Miller doesn't impress me that big a deal at all. Buffalo's considered an offensive team, not really a defensive team. They are strong defensively, there's no doubt, and they're a Super Bowl contender. But Rams are playing at SoFi. It's hotter than snot out here. It's 107 as I sit right now. Can't even take my dogs to the pool. It's too damn hot. The pool water is like 95 degrees. You can't even get in the pool. So it's like, no, I'm taking the Rams big time. Yeah, I don't think Von Miller is that big a deal. And that's what everybody wants to keep talking about.
All right, Dan. So you're taking the 2.5 points in the Rams.
I'm taking the Rams at 2.5 points.
All right, Dan, what do you think? Bills or Rams?
I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills in this one. This line is just right for me. I'm very excited for this game. This could very well be a Super Bowl preview. These are two of the better teams in their respective conferences. Buffalo is absolutely one of the best teams in the AFC, and the Rams just won the Super Bowl. So, it's going to be a really exciting game, and I'm very, very much looking forward to it. But I think Buffalo's the team to beat in this one.
I think this is a no-brainer. I think the Bills win this game, and I think they might win it by more than that. I may even tease this up to 7 so I can get a lot better odds. My question is this. I mean, you got a couple missing DBs in Buffalo, which worries me. But I really don't see how the Rams defense can contain the Bills offense. I think Josh Allen will have a big game, and it's the first game of the season. The Rams are going to be excited. They got their rings in July. The other thing is all these reports of Matt Stafford's elbow. I mean, there has to be, where there's smoke, there has to be fire. I think this, from looking
elbow's fine,
at this,
Mike.
then why did Sean McVay say it wasn't? Sean McVay 3 weeks ago told reporters that they were having issues with it. And you can sit there and you can mock it and you can laugh all you want.
Sean McVay is like the FBI. None of them, neither him nor the FBI, tell the freaking truth.
Okay.
Well,
Matt Stafford said it.
How methodical was it? They found nuclear papers today in the box of 11 million documents that were locked and hermetically sealed in a milk.
I don't know what that has to do with an NFL show.
Well, it's just the same thing. McVay's not going to tell you anything. He's not going to give anything away.
Okay, Steve. So there's nothing wrong with Matt Stafford.
Hey, listen, Mike. I went out today and got my car washed. I saw 2 Rams jerseys. This city is hyped.
Well, it's 2 more than what they usually have. All right, guys, let's go to the Baker Mayfield brawl. That's what I like to call it. The Cleveland Browns at the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers are favored by 1.5. I'll start this one off, and I am going to definitely right here. I'm taking Baker Mayfield. I think that he will own the Cleveland Browns by the time this is over. The Cleveland Browns will look like the Kansas Jayhawks, and the Carolina Panthers will look like the Oklahoma Sooners. But really, the difference is this. Baker Mayfield is better than Jacoby Brissett, as our friend Steve always calls him, Jacoby Brissett.
Hey, the only good brisket is one that you cook with barbecue, all right? Other than that, if you're not a barbecued brisket, then to hell with it. Dump it and get rid of it.
All right, but you also have Christian McCaffrey, who, since it's game one, will be healthy. So with a healthy Christian McCaffrey and Baker Mayfield, I think this is a no-brainer. I think this is one of my games that I would consider an absolute lock, Dan.
I am lockstep with you on everything that you said. Not because I think Baker Mayfield is, so amazing, but he's got a lot of really good weapons in Carolina. The only question I really have about that offense at this point, besides McCaffrey's health, is that offensive line and how quickly they can come together. But I mean, this Browns team doesn't look quite right without their star quarterback.
All right, Steve, agree or disagree?
I'm 100% agreement with you guys. I hope the hell Carolina kicks their tail right back to Cleveland. Yeah, and they can take their brisket with them. And
yeah,
they can eat beefed up brisket on the plane all the way home.
Now I want some brisket.
All right, next up, we've got another game to me that is a lock, but I'll let Dan pick it first. We've got the New England Patriots traveling to Miami. The Miami Dolphins are favored by 3.5. Bill Belichick even showed up early to practice in Miami, so he's definitely taking this game serious. Dan, what do you think?
I think it's time. I think it's time for Miami to make a statement early in the season. And I think it's time that we finally see this New England Patriots dynasty that we've seen for the last 20 years with Belichick and Brady and winning, and it's over. I think this will be the year that we finally see the Patriots as we know them fall off the cliff like any of the other franchises in this league have done over the last 20 years. And I think it starts here. I think Miami 3.5. I would have taken this line at 6, to be completely honest. I think Miami's in great position to make a statement right here.
All right, Steve, what do you think?
I think what's notable here is the Dolphins have beaten. They have beaten the Patriots 3 times in a row now, and I think we're going to see number 4. I agree.
Even when they were good, they had a tendency. Even when the Patriots were good, the Dolphins would upset them once a year. It seemed like. Yeah,
but I agree with Danny, and I think that the dynasty of the Patriots has finally closed. The door is shutting. If it's not completely closed, I mean, they're still going to be, as long as Belichick's in the area, they're going to be a good football team.
I don't think they will. I don't think this team wins more than 6 games.
Okay, well, but I'm definitely going. I'm giving up to 3.5 and go with Miami all the way on this one. Hey, Mike, who sponsors us? Shouldn't we talk about somebody?
Betting.net. I did. I brought it up at the start of the show. If you'd have paid attention, you'd have known.
Okay, I was reading.
But all right,
never mind.
Like I said, hey, it doesn't hurt to bring up who we're brought to you by.
No, it doesn't.
Every time you can. So,
right.
Mike, they pay all your bills, so you got to be nice to them.
My pick right now will be to go to betting.net, find the perfect site, which if you check the link in the description of the video on YouTube, you will find what we think is the perfect site to bet this game. I think this is a no-brainer. I think the Miami Dolphins will manhandle the New England Patriots. And the thing is, before we did this show, I go look at like 10 different sites predicting the game. And almost every one, I mean, I think it was like 6 or 7 out of the 10 picked the Patriots. So I think people forget this. You could be the greatest coach in the world, but if your players aren't that good, you're still not going to win. I mean, you've got to have players to win. And last year, Belichick pulled a miracle off with a team that was not very talented. They had just enough talent, but they lost some of that talent. They did not replenish that talent. This is a 6 or 7 win team at most. I'm taking the Miami Dolphins all day on this one, which now brings us to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Mike, I got to say one thing. Your ranking of Kenny Anderson as the number 2 all-time greatest quarterback never to be in the Hall of Fame.
No,
is
never.
A little overrated.
Never to win a Super Bowl, and you're an absolute moron then. So you can't give me
He's a
somebody.
Great quarterback.
Give me somebody that was better.
He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Y.A. Tittle was a better quarterback.
Okay.
For the Giants?
Yeah.
Well, you're not old
Y.A.
enough.
Tittle was a stud for the 49ers. The Giants was the end of his career. And if you look at Y.A. Tittle's stats, Y.A. Tittle was a stud, so was Kenny Anderson. But there's no way Jim Kelly is better than Kenny Anderson.
Kelly went to 4 Super Bowls, Mike. That's
oh, my God. And who did he beat to get there, and how shitty did he play? He threw 2 touchdowns, 7 picks in these Super Bowls. He played nobody to get to the Super Bowls. The AFC was absolutely atrocious back then. Kenny Anderson had to deal with the steel curtain, the no-name defense, the Oakland Raiders. I mean, there's 3 dynasties in Kenny Anderson's time. Kenny Anderson in the Super Bowl threw for over 300 yards in that Super Bowl. He won back-to-back passing titles.
That's another show now. Now
before anybody else ever did.
Steve.
I know.
And Jim Kelly never was the NFL MVP. Kenny Anderson was. All right, the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes traveled to the desert to play the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are getting 6.5 points, Steve.
Oh, tell you what, I'm going to go with the Chiefs on this one. They've lost Tyreek Hill, obviously, and that's going to be a big hurt to them. But Mahomes, I think, is rejuvenated, comes out strong. Kyler Murray is still, to me, probably the most overrated quarterback, most overpaid quarterback in the NFL right now, for sure. And I'm gonna give up the 6.5 and take the Chiefs in this game.
All right, Dan.
6.5 is a lot, man.
It is a lot.
6.5 is a lot, and this isn't.
Especially Dan, when you consider the Cardinals are usually really good at the start of the season.
I was gonna say we're not talking about the Kansas City Chiefs with a Hill from a couple of years ago where Mahomes was throwing 5 touchdown passes, and this Arizona Cardinals team, they played their best football in the first half of the season. It's in the second half of the season that Kyler Murray and this team seems to fall off the cliff. So I'm going to go with Arizona in this one. I don't know why this line is 6.5. I've seen it everywhere from like 4.5, 5 to 6, 6.5. And
it went to 6.5 today on almost everything.
I think it's outrageous. This offense for the Chiefs is going to have to get some kinks worked out without their top guy in Hill anymore. So not a fan of this line. I'm going to go Arizona.
I am a fan of this line. I don't think it's big enough. I think this game will be a blowout, and I'm going by this. Patrick Mahomes has never lost a regular season opener. He's averaged 36.25 points in every one of those games. He's 4-0 in all week 1 games. The big thing to me is this. To win this game is probably going to have to be a shootout. I think the relationship between Murray and the Cardinals feels like it's at a tipping point, and I think a month from now, everything in Arizona is going to implode. And it would not surprise me if Kingsbury's gone before the season's even at the midway point, because they're going to start off playing the Chiefs, Raiders, and Rams. First 3 weeks of the season, the Cardinals could be in 3 shootouts to start the year. They do not have DeAndre Hopkins. There is no way they're beating the Kansas City Chiefs without DeAndre Hopkins. If they had Hopkins, I would take the 6.5 points gladly, and I would roll with them. But no DeAndre Hopkins to me tells me there's no Larry Fitzgerald. They got a couple decent receivers, but you're talking about losing DeAndre Hopkins and Larry Fitzgerald, who even last year, even though it was at the end of his season or career, was still a threat. To me, I think this is a no-brainer. I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs. Next up.
Wait, you know where Larry Fitzgerald is a threat now?
In the broadcast
TV.
He's a hell of a golfer.
Oh,
I mean, the guy's like a 3 handicap or something like that, something really low. I mean, I watched him in the celebrity tour at Lake Tahoe, and holy cow, this guy can hit a golf ball.
Was there a Kardashian or a Caitlyn Jenner in there? Is that why you were watching?
No, there was no Kardashian or Caitlyn Jenner. No. But you know what? They fly over my house every day because I'm right on the flight path to Van Nuys Airport, which is where all the private jets fly into. So I wave at them from my pool every day.
Okay, are we ready to go to the next game? The next game, we've got the Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are getting 1.5 points. This seems light to me big time. I think people, when I look at this, I want to pick Minnesota because they can score points. But, and the big but is here, that Minnesota offensive line is not very good. The defense isn't very good. I know there's no Devontae Adams, but I'm going to take Aaron Rodgers in the 1.5 since it's not the playoffs, Steve.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Packers too. I just don't. Kirk Cousins to me, just while I think he's a great quarterback, a good mid-level quarterback, better than average. He just doesn't seem to be able to get things done for that football team and rally and win big games for him. As long as you got Aaron Rodgers, you got a threat. He seems to be revitalized. He cut his damn hair off. He came in looking beefy and bulky and ready to go. And I think he's in for a strong season. 2-time MVP. I got to give up the points and take the Packers on this one.
All right, Dan.
This is honestly for me. This is a tough one, but I'm gonna lean in Aaron Rodgers' direction because, like you said, this ain't the playoffs where he has a tendency to disappear lately. And an Aaron Rodgers who doesn't have to necessarily throw it to one guy on any given down, or isn't doesn't default to going to that one guy on any given down, I think is a more dangerous Aaron Rodgers. I could say the same thing about Mahomes, but I think Rodgers is just on a totally different level all around. I mean, man's a great. And before I start slurping him too much here, the fact that they lost Adams, I think losing Adams for that offense is going to impact them less than Hill leaving Kansas City. Because Hill was like really that one big downfield piece that really was able to open up things, not only in the middle of the field for Kelsey, but open up other things in the offense on other parts of the field. So without him, I think they're really going to miss Hill. But Adams, as much as Rodgers is going to miss Adams, I think he'll be just fine.
Well, this is interesting, Dan, because Rodgers, he's thrown 13 touchdown passes and no picks in his last 4 games against the Vikings, but he's only 2-2. So I mean, you throw 13 TD passes and no picks, and you only finish 2-2. That's probably why the spread's only 1.5 points.
Well, I think a lot of the spread is perception. A lot of teams get overvalued and undervalued. Usually the Packers are a team that gets overvalued. I think they're undervalued here because I think people forget just how good this defense and this running game is. Yep. And I think the Vikings are going to have trouble stopping both. And the Vikings do have the ability to stay in a shootout. But when I look at the offensive line, I think the Packers have a definite advantage, especially since David Bakhtiari is not hurt yet. But that's just because week 1's coming. So I think you get the best of the Packers here. All right, whose turn? Who just went first on that one? Me?
Yes.
All right, so we've got Dan. Saints at Falcons. Falcons are getting 5.5 points.
Saints at Falcons. I'm going to go with New Orleans on this one. Atlanta is just terrible. They're terrible up and down their roster. They're one of the worst teams in football. They're going to be jostling with the Seahawks and a couple of other very select teams vying for a number 1 pick. I like some of the individual pieces that Atlanta has on both sides of the ball, but yuck. Overall, just yuck. I'm gonna go with New Orleans in this one. I think New Orleans is one of the better teams in the NFL. And as long as their quarterback situation is better than it was last year. If Winston stays healthy, this team's going to be dangerous.
Or if he gets hurt because you got Andy Dalton. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, there you
go. I'm agree with Dan here. Mariota's been a flop pretty much in the league. Not doing much of anything. Although I don't put a lot more faith in Jameis Winston either. But I think as a whole, New Orleans is a little bit stronger. I'll give up the 5.5, and I'll take New Orleans in this game.
All right, I'm going to agree because of one betting statistic I'll give you. The Saints have won the last 4 games in Atlanta by an average of 7 points. Jameis Winston played well last year, did not have interception issues, but he got hurt. These are the top 2 picks of the 2015 NFL draft. They're both still in the NFL, so they got that going for him. But, and I think Marcus Mariota is not a terrible quarterback, but Jameis Winston, I think, is better than him. I think the Saints overall, they have a better running game. I think they have a better defense. I think that they win this game, and I think they win it by a touchdown. All right, Steve. San Francisco 49ers at the Chicago Bears. The Bears are at home getting 7 points.
I don't know. I'm not a big Trey Lance fan, and they're going to start him. And, I'm just not a fan of his. I'm kind of wanting him to go down. Justin Fields. This is another game with shaky quarterbacks. But let me see here. I'm going to take the Bears and give up because I don't think the Bears will lose by 7 points. I think the 49ers are a better team. They're a playoff caliber team, but I'm not sold on Trey Lance. I don't want Trey Lance to do well, and I think the Bears can cover 7 points at home.
All right, I'm going to go. I don't like Trey Lance much either, but I think he could throw for 80 yards and they'll be fine in this game because I don't think Chicago Bears rush defense is that good. And I think you've got Eli Mitchell mixed in with some Deebo Samuel. And the other thing you're forgetting is this. Justin Fields, I don't think is that bad. I think Justin Fields' issue is where he's at. The fact they've got him no offensive line help. They got him no weapons. The 49ers pass rush will win this game. I think the Niners defense dominates this game. And I think the 49ers end up winning something like 20-10.
The problem with that, Mike, is I guarantee you in the first week, one of the damn Bosas will go down and be out for the year.
No.
Even if a Bosa goes down, there's still enough in San Francisco.
Yeah, I know. But one of the Bosas, they do it every year. One of them goes down.
Yeah.
And then the other one follows about 3 weeks later, and they party in Cabo for the rest of the year.
All right.
With all their money.
We've got Kenyell Jones thinks that the Steelers will win the 49ers-Bears game. Kenyell, we'll get to the Steelers here in a second, and they don't have a flying chance in hell. All right, so, Dan, what do you think?
I'm going to go with San Francisco. I'm going to agree with you on this one, Mike. My only question with them this week lies with George Kittle. He is on the injury report. He's questionable for this game with a groin injury. I don't think he practiced today or yesterday or whatever, so we'll have to keep an eye on that moving forward. I don't really think his absence will matter that much in this game because, like you said, Mike, the Bears are just that bad. And it's not Justin Fields because I love Justin Fields as a young quarterback prospect. His potential.
You do? You love him?
I mean, I do, man. I feel like he could be successful in this league, but Chicago is not doing this kid any favors. They're starting a rookie 5th-round pick at left tackle. They're starting Riley Reif at right tackle. Tevin Jenkins, who was a 2nd-round pick last year out of Oklahoma State, doesn't do well anywhere they put him. He doesn't play well at tackle on either side. He doesn't play well at guard, but they don't really have any other options. They picked up Alex Leatherwood, for God's sake, from the Raiders on waivers.
That makes them a USFL team if they picked up Alex Leatherwood.
Yo, it's so bad. Just doing Justin Fields a disservice. No weapons besides Mooney at receiver. Just bad. One of the worst teams in the game. And it sucks because I like Justin Fields. But San Francisco all the way in this one.
All right, next up, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are giving 6.5 points. I guess, Steve, you went first last time, didn't you?
I'll go first. I don't care.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. I want to go in order because you're the one that cares. That's why I want to keep on this. You remember all the times he complains, Dan. But I'm going to take the Bengals into 6.5 points.
Be a teacher, Mike, and just call on somebody.
Mitch Trubisky. Okay, Mitch Trubisky. I'll take the Bengals, and I'll give the 6.5 points. I think what is it? George Pickens, the rookie wide receiver for Pittsburgh, is going to be a stud. They got Najee Harris. The problem is the offensive line is bad. The Bengals front seven is highly underrated. You got DJ Reader. You got Joseph Asai, which people forget about. You've got Trey Hendrickson. You got Sam Hubbard. You got Logan Wilson, who's one of the best middle linebackers in all of the NFL. The secondary in Cincinnati is loaded, especially with Dax Hill looking like he's the real deal. I think the Bengals win this game easily, Dan.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on everything you just said on every front. Pittsburgh's in a transitional year. I don't know how good they're going to be this year, even if Trubisky plays well. One thing of note, Deontay Johnson, receiver for Pittsburgh, is questionable for week 1 with a shoulder injury. I think I read something about him practicing, so he might end up suiting up, but that is something to keep an eye on. If he doesn't play, it's going to be even tougher.
All right, next up, Dan.
I didn't get to make a pick.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
Poor Steve.
I got excited because I saw that Dan gets to pick the Lions game first, too, and I didn't plan these. Go ahead.
Well, I'm agreeing with both you guys. This is a route for the Bengals.
All right.
All right.
This is probably the biggest route of the week.
Oh, boy.
I don't know. We'll see. Next up, we've got the Philadelphia Eagles at the Detroit Lions. And the reason I say we'll see, Steve, is still a divisional game. And I know the Bengals bludgeoned them twice last year and made them look like little girls. But it's still a divisional game. The Philadelphia Eagles at the Detroit Lions. The Lions are getting 4, Dan.
Philly -4. Well, I'm going to start off my season.
Philly -4, yeah.
That's what he said.
I'm going to start my season on a very high note, and I'm going to pick the Philadelphia Eagles in this one. I as much as I wanted to, I can't, in my right mind, pick the Lions. The Philadelphia Eagles are the more talented team. While I think the Lions might have the better coach and better coaching staff, which I never thought I would say that at this point when he was hired, Philly's just a better team on the field. They've got too much. The Lions are still a rebuilding team in transition. They're better. The arrow's pointing up. I love the coaching staff, but Philly's better.
All right, Steve.
Yeah, how do you do that, Dan? How do you ever bet against your home team?
Because my team sucks.
He doesn't want to be broke. He doesn't want to be broke.
I watched every minute of Hard Knocks and fell in love with their coach. And I think there's no way I'm betting against the Lions in game 1. I think this team is hyped to play. 4 points is no big deal. Jalen Hurts doesn't impress me that much. Jared Goff is a more than adequate quarterback, and I just think the enthusiasm and motivation on this team right now on Detroit Lions is just palpable and really strong. So I'm definitely going to give up the 4 and take Detroit.
Well, you're going to take the 4.
That's bold.
I'm going to take the 4 in Detroit. Yeah, I'm sorry.
All right, I'm going to go this. I think Jared Goff is about to have a breakout season.
I think so too.
I think he will throw for close to 4,000 yards. I think the Lions will have an outside shot to make the playoffs. I think they win at least 7 games. I think the Detroit Lions win this game. All right, and my reason for that is this. You see remember last year, half the games were upsets week 1, and we all ended up like 4-12 the first week. So we're going to have some upsets. Hold on. We got Kenyell says Detroit, the first week going to be upset Sunday. It almost always is, and that's what I'm trying to explain to you, Dan. The Detroit Football Lions are going to beat the Philadelphia Eagles straight up, but I'm going to take the 4 points just to be safe because I think this. I'm not going to overthink think anything I saw on Hard Knocks for the simple fact of this. It's not reality. I mean, they edited out anything.
I get it.
They
But I love their
didn't want
coach.
in there.
Campbell, I think, has got this team turned around. I get what Dan's saying about they need to keep adding talent to this football team, and hopefully the owners will spend the cash. But dadgummit, this team's got some enthusiasm, and this is a game that they come out of the blocks, like you said, Mike. It's week one, and everything's goofy on week one. And there are going to be major upsets that we don't anticipate because we don't generally have a good feeling for the team. So, but I think this is one of them. I think Detroit wins this game flat out.
I do too.
No.
And then
Dan Mike, do we want to let Dan reconsider his pick?
Nope. I made my pick. I'm sticking with it.
I mean, his pick makes sense, but he's going to be wrong. He did it last year all year long. So
I hope so.
All right, next up, we've got the Baltimore Ravens against the New York Jets and backup quarterback Joe Flacco, which probably gives them a better chance than if they've got their starter, Zach Wilson. What do you think, Steve? Baltimore and the Jets. Jets get 7.5.
I'm not going to bet against a Harbaugh and Lamar Thompson. There's no way.
Lamar Thompson? Who the hell is that?
Lamar. What's his name?
Lamar Thompson?
He's an old basketball player.
Ridiculous.
Oh, my God.
Just ridiculous. Yo, I'm getting a Lamar Thompson jersey tonight, baby.
Yeah. Go on the NFL Network, NFL Shop, and see if you can find a Lamar Thompson jersey.
Yo, number 69, Lamar Thompson. I'm in.
All right. So Steve's taking Lamar Thompson and the
Lamar
Baltimore
Jackson. Jackson Thompson. What the hell's the difference?
Steve, do you want Lamar Thompson, or Dan, do you want to go with Lamar Thompson to cover the 7.5 points? Or
Lamar Thompson, NFL
Knock
player.
Knock it off, all right? You all have made mistakes too.
Best quarterback in the NFL ever.
Nothing
I can't read as fast as I got to write.
You know, the next NFL power rankings I'm going to do, I'm going to put Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Thompson.
Yo, that's so great. I'm gonna go with Baltimore in this one. The Jets are starting Joe Flacco, and it's been a talk of the radio for the last 2 weeks over here in New York. Jets fans are pretty much 50-50 on Flacco, it sounds like. Half the fan base is really energized and thinking, all right, his veteran presence is great for the offense. When he was in last year, the offense looked totally different and whatever. Look, Joe Flacco's nothing special.
No, but that Super Bowl ring means it too, especially all those great playoff games he had. To say he's nothing special is foolish.
He's nothing special.
He is old.
Right. Well, nothing special right now.
Okay.
Today.
But
going into this game.
He was special at
he
one
was.
point. And he was special for the Ravens, who chose to go with Lamar Jackson. I'm going to take Joe Flacco into 7.5 points. I don't think they're necessarily going to win the game, but the first week, there's always upsets. I'm not saying this is an upset. I think the Ravens win the game, but I think that the Jets can cover 7.5 points.
I mean, if you heard some of the stuff that these fans are saying when they call in, you would think that the Jets season is down the toilet.
This is the thing. Jets
roll downhill.
Jets fans aren't used to having a quarterback that has a Super Bowl ring, and it makes them nervous.
Yo, I mean, without Mekhi Becton, without Zach Wilson.
No, Mekhi Becton's not that good, and Zach Wilson sucks.
George Fant is questionable.
So, answer me this question. How good is Mekhi Becton?
One can say that he's been a bust.
Wow, wait a second. Because 2 years ago, when I told you he would be a bust, you told me, no, he's a monster.
Dude, I'm pretty sure last season was my first season doing this show with you.
No,
I think
we did shows with you before that. It might be Sam Tees. Okay.
I think you're mistaken.
So you're going to have to be him.
Yeah, I think you're mixing up me and Sam Teets. I mean, I'm a little disappointed because I'm definitely better looking than Sam, but you're mixing us up again, I think.
You're both kind of girly looking. You put hair product in your hair.
I look really good. Do you see this hair? It's literally shimmering in the light. I feel fucking Listen, I'd date me. If I weren't me, I would date me.
Actually, I mean, the only dates you get are you, I think, right? That's why he drinks with his left hand. His right hand's so worn out, Steve, he can't drink
Right.
with it.
The only
That's
date
right.
he gets is with his left hand.
No, the left hand is when he needs some strange.
While he's watching Real Housewives of New Jersey.
All right, let's clean it up. Next
Let's clean it up.
Next up, we've got the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Washington Commanders. The Commanders are favored by 2.5 points. Dan, what do you think?
Washington by 2.5?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to go with Jacksonville in this one. I'm going to say, if we're talking about week 1 upsets and teams coming out and sneaking up on someone, I'm going to say it's going to be Jacksonville because I still have faith in Trevor Lawrence. I love Travis Etienne. I think he's going to be great for them in this offense as long as he's healthy. They aren't a great team. Let's not get confused. I mean, Christian Kirk is their wide receiver 1 right now, and their defense leaves a lot to be desired overall. But I'm going to go Jacksonville. Let's do it. Washington does not impress me. Like how Steve said earlier about somebody not impressing him. I think it was Trey Lance. Yep, not impressing him. And there was another one after that. There's just Steve's just not impressed by. I'm not impressed by Washington.
It was Lance Thompson.
You'll learn this. Once you get past the age of 60, you're not impressed by anybody, and you can't remember anybody's last name.
Dude, I'm not impressed by anything now when it comes to sports and stuff like that. It's very, very difficult to impress me.
I thought you were impressed by the way you looked.
Well, I'm, you know, not everyone looks like this guy.
All right, I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars also. I think the Jaguars will win the game. I think the Commanders, their front office is a mess. Commandos is a lot better than calling them the Washington Thompsons.
The foreskins.
That's rude. All right, Steve, what do you think? Jaguars or Commanders?
I missed you guys so much. I'm so glad we're back on the air. We'll be off the air next week.
I love Wednesdays. Wednesday's my favorite.
Corporate's gonna boot this show right off the air and go back to NASCAR.
No, corporate doesn't know we do a NASCAR show, Steve. Jaguars at Commanders. If they did, they'd make me stop.
I'm telling you what, I want to go with Jacksonville because I think that they're a better team right now.
I don't think they're a better team. I just think the Jaguars are going to win this game.
But I've just got this scary, sick feeling that Carson Wentz is just going to light up the NFL this year and just make the Colts look like a bunch of freaking idiots.
All right, Steve.
So I'm taking Jacksonville and the 2.5 points, but I'm making a mistake on this one.
All right, real quick before Steve picks his Indianapolis Colts game, betting.net finds the best promotions, offers a bonus code so you don't have to. Head over to the website now to take advantage of things like free bets and matching deposits. Check them out at betting.net and make sure you go on to if you're watching us on YouTube, you click on the link in the description down below so you can take all your money, your house, your car, your wife, your kids, and bet the way Steve Risley's betting the Colts Texans. Steve, the Texans are getting 7 points.
Oh, this game scares the crap out of me. I tell you what, I watched Houston play the Rams and beat the Rams. And I know it's preseason, but I mean, Houston is not an inept football team. I don't know what to tell you. I've got to bet on my Colts. I got to give up the 7 and take the Colts because
you don't have to, because you can pick the Texans and still pick the Colts to win. Since it's
Homer.
Yeah, and I've got to be a homer. If I'm not a homer from game 1, I'm not a homer all season long, and I'm going to be a homer all season long on the Colts.
There you go.
So, but Davis Mills, he does not look that bad. We don't know what we're going to get out of Matt Ryan, and the Colts are down on receivers in terms of just competency and talent. They got young receivers, and the Houston has a strong defensive rush. They can pound on Jonathan Taylor all game long, and I'm not, Jonathan Taylor is going to be keyed on every game this season long. He's had 2 great seasons as being the NFL's leading rusher, and I think that's going away this year just because of the simple fact everybody's going to key on him. So I'm going to take the Colts and give up the 7 points, but that's a tough call. I bet you guys go the other way.
All right, Dan, what do you think?
I'm going to go with Indianapolis in this one. I don't care how not quite right Matt Ryan might look or whatever. The Colts, in my opinion, are the favorite in the AFC South, and they are a supremely talented team. And Houston is better than they were last season, but that ain't saying much. And Davis Mills looked really good last season as a rookie. I love Dameon Pierce at running back. But looking at this roster, it is talent deficient. I'm not a huge fan of Lovie Smith as their head coach in 2022. Maybe, a decade ago, that would be a good look. But now, not a fan. So I'm going to go with Indianapolis.
Yeah, Dan, I think that's a great point. The biggest weakness they've got is Lovie Smith as their coach. Nah. He does not fit this team.
He's still an upgrade from last year's coach.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, which isn't saying much.
He does not fit the direction this team's trying to go.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. It's not a fit for this football team.
Maybe I don't think Lovie Smith's a fit for any football team.
Yeah, well, I agree.
That's probably a good. I didn't want to say that, but this is just a terrible decision by ownership to put him as head coach of this football team that's trying to totally retool.
Well, if you're trying to totally retool, though, if you hire an incompetent head coach, you could probably get a higher draft.
Well, then you're not, right. Okay, go ahead, Mike. I apologize for interrupting you.
Oh, you didn't interrupt because I didn't say anything yet. I'm going to take the Colts. Texans suck. I'll give up the 7 points. Next up, the New York Football Giants travel to Tennessee to battle the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are favored by 5.5. The Giants open the Brian DeBoer era, and the offense has to be better. They averaged 15 points a game last year. Saquon Barkley is in a prove-it year. By prove-it to me, it means just play 17 games without getting hurt. Yards will be tough against the Titans' defense. I think Tennessee controls the home opener around Ryan Tannehill and a healthy Derrick Henry. I'm going to take the Titans, and I'm going to give up the 5.5 points here, Dan.
I've been leaning Titans for this game, but one of my buddy Greg, is a diehard Titans fan. And we've been talking on and off about this game in our group chat. My buddy Bob is a diehard Giants fan, so it's been fun to see them talk about this game and go back and forth. The Titans are the better team, but they suffered a really, really, really big injury for their defense, and this is a game that the Tennessee Titans like to lose. They lost their outside linebacker, Landry, to, I think he has a torn ACL or something like that, but he's out for the season. It's over for that man this year. And even with him healthy, Bud Dupree on the other side, Dupree's did nothing for this team. He's was coming off of an injury coming out of Pittsburgh. Jeffrey Simmons is due for a new contract up front. As much as I love him, as disruptive as he is, there's questions. And then on the offensive side, yes, Derrick Henry is healthy, and Derrick Henry is going to get the rock minimum 25 times. But if Tannehill's got a pass, Robert Woods is coming off an injury. Nick Westbrook-Ikine is not quite right, I feel. And he's starting ahead of Treylon Burks, their first-round pick. And Burks has had his fair share of struggles for different reasons this offseason. This is a game that the Titans would lose. They played down to their competition. And I remember hearing this against the Jaguars, against the Texans, against other bad teams last year. Oh, watch out for the Titans to lose this game. And more times than not, they were the number 1 seed in AFC, but they had some really bad performances against teams they should have handled. I'm going to go with the Giants in this one. I think Tennessee wins the game, but I'm not taking 5.5.
Well, you're taking a loss anyways because you took too much time to explain that. Steve, do you agree or disagree?
I disagree. I think that
Daniel Jones is still the quarterback for the Giants, correct, Dan?
Yes, he is.
Go ahead, Steve.
Tannehill, I think, is an underrated quarterback in the NFL. I think he does what he's like a Jared Goff. And I think you can see a breakout from him.
Jared Goff's got to do something before he's ran Tannehill, I think.
Okay, then I agree with you there, Mike. That's a good point.
Because Tannehill's been to the playoffs multiple times.
Right.
Number one.
But I don't think Tannehill is that much of a liability to Tennessee whatsoever. Now, they've struggled with some wide receivers, but as long as you've got Derek Thompson running the ball for them.
Derek Thompson. What's with you with this Thompson?
I made a joke there. It's Derrick Henry.
It's got to be Derek Johnson at this point.
Bobby Thompson.
I think anytime you have Derrick Henry running the ball for you, with that, the way he pounds and beats people into the ground, I've seen him do it with the Colts twice a year for God knows how many years now, and I'm getting sick and tired of it. And he's not letting up at all. So I definitely am going to give up the 5.5 and take Tennessee in this game. They're playing at home. It's a crazy party town. Fans are going to be out big time, and it'll be a good game.
All right, next up.
I'm taking Tennessee and giving up the points.
Got it.
Too long on that game. All right, next up, the Las Vegas Raiders at the Los Angeles Chargers. Steve, the Chargers are favored by 3.5.
3.5 for the Chargers. All right.
Steve. Yeah, I'm getting there. I was going to try and go in and put on my Chargers jersey because I went and bought a Chargers jersey.
Good.
That's my
Justin Thompson's jersey. He got a Justin Thompson jersey. Go ahead.
Yes.
Lamar Thompson.
Best quarterback ever.
Bobby Thompson.
This is a tough game to call. I'm going to only giving up 3 points. I got to go with the Chargers. Justin Herbert, I think, is going to have a hell of a year. I think the Chargers are going to be the team to beat in the AFC West. And while I think the Raiders are going to make the playoffs, there's no doubt. Although I don't like their coach. I think he's a snit because he took the job in Indianapolis and then quit.
Yeah.
Like anybody that's a good coach would do.
Yeah,
Who the hell wants to go to Indianapolis?
I know. I get it. We suck. What can I say?
Yes. You suck with your Colts jersey, but go ahead. Dumbass.
But, the Chargers picked up Khalil Mack. I think strengthening up their defense a little bit, although he's not been that dynamic in the last 2 or 3 years either at Chicago. So, yeah. But I definitely think the Chargers overall are a team that's going to have to be dealt with by every team that they play in the NFL this year. So I'm giving up 3 and taking the Chargers.
It's 3.5. All right. I am
3 on my line.
3.5.
Well, I didn't go to betting.net.
Well, you don't need to, but because you live in California, it's not legal yet.
Can't do it anyway. Yeah.
You got to go down and talk to Vinny on the corner of Vine and Venice Beach. All right.
So sick of commercials about that crap. Proposition 26, Proposition 27, Proposition 26. All of the big booking.
If they pass it, we'll do a show where we teach you how to bet on the NFL.
All right.
I love that. I'm in.
I'll teach Dan too. But all right. So
learning things.
Yeah. Because, your 40% hit percentage last year, it'd be better if you didn't know how to bet.
Raiders 40% of the time, it wins every time.
Raiders at Chargers. I think the Raiders are hard to defend. I don't like Josh McDaniels, though. This game is in L.A. I still have massive questions about the Raiders' offensive line. I think the Chargers are the better team. They're at home. They should win this game. I'm going to take the Chargers. I'll give the 3.5 points. Next up, we get the Bucks at the Cowboys. I think this is a line. The Cowboys are majorly overvalued. And if you're betting on the NFL, the Steelers and the Cowboys are always the two teams, and the Patriots are overvalued big time. This week is the week to pound that. You can even parlay this. Take the Bucks, give the 2.5 points. Take the Bengals, give the 6.5. And take the Dolphins, give the 3.5. You get a 3-team parlay, you bet $30 on it, you'll probably win at least 130, 140 off of that. That would be my parlay pick of the week. I think the Bucs win this game. I think the Bucs are overvalued a little bit. I don't think they're as great as people think they are. I think there's holes on this team. The offensive line's not as good as what it used to be. I don't think the defense is as good as it used to be. But I think the Dallas Cowboys have significant issues on this team, especially on the defense. I mean, last year, the defense was so good because they caused a bunch of turnovers. The thing about that is you'll very rarely find a team that causes 35, 40 turnovers or more that can do it 2 years in a row. What that means to me is it's not maybe that they caused the turnovers. It's basically the other team turned the ball over. You got to get lucky to pull that off 2 years in a row. I think the Cowboys are dead in the water. I think the Eagles will win this division. I think the Cowboys will finish third in the division. I think Tampa Bay will win this game. I'll give the 2.5 points, Dan.
So it's Tampa Bay minus 2.5?
Yep, which is Dallas plus 2.5.
I'm going to go with Tampa Bay in this one as well. I mean, we talked about this offseason when we discussed the NFC East and our predictions, and we talked about this offensive line, and we talked about Tyron Smith, and I said, this could be one of the better offensive lines in the league if Smith stays healthy. That was a huge key because he is one of the best left tackles in the NFL. Well, here we are. We're in the early parts of September, but before August even rang out, the man is already hurt. I think he tore his hamstring, and if I remember reading the reports correctly, he tore it off the bone, which I'm not a doctor, and I would not make believe that I am, but doctors say that sort of an injury is a pretty serious one. So he's been put on IR to come back, but he might not be back until week 12 or week 13 at this point. That's a huge loss. Okay. They're going to be without Mike Gallup in this one, who's coming off of a torn ACL. He is out in week 1. He's expected to be back for week 2, which will be a huge boost for their passing game. But this week, they're going to be down to CeeDee Lamb, Noah Brown, and Jalen Tolbert as their top 3 guys. I like Dak Prescott. I like the potential that this team has, but like you said, Mike, aside from the questions on offense and along the offensive line
and coaching,
and coaching,
this team has no potential as long as Mike McCarthy's there.
Their defense, they're not going to get that many turnovers again. Trayvon Diggs ain't going to get, what did he have? 10 picks or whatever it was, 9 picks, 11 picks.
I don't know.
Ridiculous.
He gave up a lot more double moves for touchdowns than he had picks. So.
That man's nickname is Toast because he got burnt a lot last season. I don't care what those interceptions say. And I saw the NFL show on NFL Network that had the NFL players ranking their top 100 players. And Trayvon Diggs was really high on that list. And I was extremely confused.
They're going off stats.
That's got to be what it is.
Yeah, that's what it is for most of those guys because the top 100 rating usually makes no sense. Steve, do you agree with us going with the Bucs or you going with the Cowboys?
I'm gonna take the Cowboys in the 2.5 points.
Woo!
Good. We'll both pick up a game then.
They're playing at home.
Why, Steve?
I don't think the Cowboys are as decimated as you think they are.
Well, they are.
Tampa Bay's got their new coach, Teddy Pendergrass. So.
Oh, man.
Her coach is Tom Brady, by the way. And this is a scary thing if you're a Cowboys.
Tom Brady he got beat by the Colts in preseason.
Nobody cares.
Oh, I know, but he didn't look that good.
What did he play? One series?
I don't know. People paid a lot of money to come and see Tom Brady play in the sun.
I don't think anybody paid any money. You go on StubHub, you get those season tickets for $6. My worry if I'm the Cowboys, their first 2 games are at home, but they're against the Buccaneers and the Bengals. This team could easily be 0-2 going to New York to play the Giants.
They'll be 1-1. They'll be 1-1.
So you think they'll beat the Cowboys? All right.
Yep. One way or another, they're going to be 1-1, and I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt because I want you to be a happy camper all season long, Mike.
Oh, the Bengals will beat the Cowboys. And it's not just sports betting that makes me think that, Steve. It's betting.net because they compare the best online casinos so you can sit back, relax, and like Dan does, play
with himself.
The top online slots, poker, and table games. I was making a reference to earlier in your hands. But that would have been rude, so I decided not to. All right, we've got Monday Night Football, Russell Wilson against Pete Carroll. I think this is going to be an ass whooping. I think Russell Wilson is going to pay Pete Carroll back for all those handoffs to running backs and never letting him just turn it loose and throw the ball down the field. I think the Denver Broncos. I mean, what's Geno Smith? Is he really the starting quarterback in Seattle?
Yeah, it's gross.
Okay, so how's this only 6.5? This should be like Alabama is Mercer. It should be like 42.5 to get me to bet on Mercer, which would be the Seattle Seahawks. This is Pete Carroll's last season in Seattle. He will be done after this. The good thing for them is they may be able to get Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, or one of the other stud quarterbacks in college football right now because they suck that bad. The Denver Broncos win this game. They win it easily. It wouldn't surprise me if the Broncos shut them out, and it would surprise me if the Seahawks scored more than 10 points. Steve?
I'm definitely going with Denver. I'm going to give up 6.5 points and go with Denver as well.
All right, so, Dan, let's not screw this up, too, because the show right now is at 55 minutes. If we could do this quickly, we could get out of here for the first time ever in an hour.
So I guess I got to talk for 5 more minutes.
I got closing comments.
There's no closing arguments. You're not a lawyer. Go ahead, Dan. Pick the game.
I'm going to go with Denver in this one as well. Like you said, Mike, for everything you said, Seattle's quarterback might as well be me. It's Geno Smith. It's awful.
No, I'm pretty sure Geno Smith's probably a lot better than you, Dan. Go ahead.
I'm going to disagree respectfully because it's Geno Smith.
We need for you to do this show and go outside and throw a football so we can see.
I'll tell you what. I think what Geno Smith is going to do this week, I'll be able to match for 1/10 of the salary.
I don't think you can complete a pass.
That's how bad I think this game's going to be.
You could not complete a pass in an NFL game, and you damn sure couldn't take a hit.
Oh, and what's funny about this game is yeah, hold on. What's funny about this game is that I was reading an article earlier today, and
you were reading.
Well, it was read to me because Siri. Okay. But anyway, besides the point. So there was this article talking about how the Seahawks general manager had to apologize to the Saints and a bunch of other teams because a bunch of teams had reached out about trading for Russell Wilson during the offseason, but he knew that Russell Wilson wanted to go to Denver, and he had negotiated and got in talks with these other teams about potentially trading Wilson to them. So he had to apologize to those teams, and he actually said, and this was quoted, I don't remember the exact quote, but it was quoted that part of the reason they were so on board with doing the deal with Denver was because the general manager for Seattle wanted Drew Lock. Of all the other potential options and potential quarterbacks that they could have gotten in a return trade, he zeroed in on Drew Lock and wanted Drew Lock.
They'd have been better off just getting Marcus Mariota or Andy Dalton.
I think, absolutely. I think it is. I mean, Seattle has had some good draft classes in the last decade or last few years, or whatever, but
I don't think they have because every year they pick a running back first.
To want Drew Lock, when you're looking at someone's roster and saying, you know what? I want Drew Lock on my team.
I do remember somebody here that thought Drew Lock could be good and lead the Broncos to the playoffs last year.
That was me. That was this guy. But again, like I said, last year was if they got competent play from their quarterback, that team could make noise because they were talented. And I stick by that statement. This season, the Denver Broncos,
because they've upgraded their team.
And they've upgraded their quarterback.
Yeah, but they've upgraded a quarterback to a guy who's probably, if he still plays the way he did a couple years ago, a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. So it will make anything you said bullshit. So because they had to add an elite quarterback to win. But like always, what you say is bullshit. Do you have any final comments, Dan? You got 30 seconds. You got 10 seconds.
Let's go Detroit, and that's it.
All right. Steve.
Go Colts.
All right. Well, I'll give you a who day then. All right, guys. We will be back next Wednesday at 8 o'clock live again for the NFL Betting Show. Remember to check out betting.net, not just sports betting. Betting.net compares the best online casinos. Sit back, relax, and play the top online slots, poker, and table games. Make sure you go to the link in the description in the video to click our top recommended sports book, which will be BetMGM for this show. Make sure you check them out if you're betting all the games. And there will be a NASCAR show, I'm told, Steve, tomorrow night after their football game, or Friday night after the football games. Joe is actually in the middle of coaching his junior high team right now.
Not like I may have something to do Friday night after a football game.
You going to a football game?
No.
You're in the crossword puzzle, Steve. Let's be honest.
Oh, but Steve won, or he won 26-20.
Yeah, Joe.
But see, the problem with Joe is we get to like October 13th or 20th. He plays against my junior high team, not the one I coached, but the high school team. He's going to play our junior high team because they don't have the guts in Switzerland County to play my high school team because we would beat the brakes off of them. They know that, though, so it's okay. All right, there's Dan's sheet. Let's take a picture of it, make sure it doesn't get, changed around a little bit. You know what I heard? I heard that a couple of the documents Donald Trump had were Dan's final count for our NFL Pick'em show from a year ago.
Nobody
knows. Highly
stashed.
classified.
They are highly classified, and I heard that they could, cut his finger off because of it.
Nobody wants that information. That information is worth nothing.
Nobody didn't know you because you came in dead ass last.
That's what I'm saying.
You were mathematically eliminated before we started picking games.
Trash talk is easy in the first quarter. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I trash talked last year, and it was real easy for me at the end too, where I won again.
The whole year, this man, I had to hear, oh yeah, Steve's in the lead, but I'm gonna win anyway. Oh, yeah, Steve's leading, but when it's over, who's going to be at the top? Me. I have to hear it all season.
I could have easily blocked him, but I chose not to do that.
He couldn't have easily blocked me.
Terrible.
Terrible. We all know Steve picked the Super Bowl the way he thought he should. So
Steve, that means
and who won the Super Bowl?
I did because the Bengals covered the 4.5 point
I know
spread.
you didn't win.
I won this entire show that we did for months by a half.
Who won the Super Bowl last year? I can't remember.
The Rams beat the Bengals.
Oh,
what
that's
the Colts
right.
do in the playoffs?
The Rams won.
What the Colts do in the playoffs?
Who did they beat?
The Bengals.
Okay, all right.
Don't say Bungles because that makes you a dumbass like the other.
And where
dumbass.
Is your
I don't
Lombardi
make fun of
trophy?
your team. I cheer for your team. You know what I got? I've got a Detroit Lions T-shirt I bought from the NFL shop a couple weeks ago, and I forgot to wear it tonight because I said, no,
I'm going to wait and wear it next week. Is it sitting in the entryway to the Bengals headquarters? Oh, wait, you don't have a Lombardi trophy.
Yeah, and you won
what
one.
A jerk Steve is.
And you won one against Rex Grossman well over a decade ago, and you had what all Colts fans claim was the greatest quarterback ever and only won one. So you're up 1-0 on us, but we have been there 3 times. You've only been
Peyton Mann thing.
Yep.
Peyton Thompson, please get his name right.
Peyton Thompson. There it is.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Make sure you check us out. And remember, we'll have a Cincinnati Bengals post-game show with myself, Ty Robbins, former Cincinnati Bengal linebacker for Super Bowl 23, Joe Kelly. That'll be Sunday night at 8 o'clock. That'll be a quick wrap-up of the Bengals beating the hell out of the Steelers. But for now, for Steve Risley, Dan Kornhauser, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to the grueling